Some other similarities between the teachings of Islam and Hinduism. Number 1. Prohibition of alcohol. A. It is mentioned in the Quran in Surah Al-Ma'idah, "O you who believe, intoxicants and gambling, dedication of stones and divination by arrows are an abomination of Shaitan's handiwork. Issue such abomination that you may prosper." Al-Quran 5:90. B. It is mentioned in Manusmriti, a priest killer, a liquor drinker, a thief, and a violator of his guru's marriage bed. All of these and each separately should be known as men who have committed major crimes. Manusmriti 9:235. Further, after two verses, it's mentioned in Manusmriti, "These miserable men who no one should eat with, no one should sacrifice for, no one should read to, and no one should marry, must wander the earth, excommunicated from all religion." Manusmriti 9:238. A similar message is repeated in Manusmriti chapter 11 verse 55. Killing a priest, drinking liquor, stealing, violating the guru's marriage bed, and associating with those who commit these acts are called the major crimes. Manusmriti 11:55. It is further mentioned in Manusmriti, "For liquor is the defiling dirt exerted from rice, and dirt is said to be evil. Therefore a priest, ruler, or commoner should not drink liquor." Manusmriti 11:94. C. Intoxicants, intoxicating drinks are prohibited in several other verses of Manusmriti, including Manusmriti chapter 3 verse 159, Manusmriti chapter 7 verse 47 and 50, Manusmriti chapter 9 verse 225, Manusmriti chapter 11 verse 151, Manusmriti chapter 12 verse 45, Rigveda book 8, Haman 2 verse 12, Rigveda book 8, Haman 21 verse 14. 2. Prohibition of gambling. As mentioned earlier, the glorious Quran prohibits gambling in Surah Ma'idah chapter 5 verse 90. A. Gambling is also prohibited in the Hindu scriptures. I. Rigveda book 10, Haman 34 verse 3. The gambler says, "My wife holds me aloof, her mother hates me. The wretched man finds none to comfort him." Rigveda 10:34-3. It is further advised in Rigveda, "Play not with dice, no, cultivate the corn land, enjoy the gain, and deem that wealth sufficient." Rigveda 10:34-13. It is mentioned in Manusmriti chapter 7 verse 50, "Drinking, gambling, women not lawfully wedded, wives, and hunting in that order he should know to be the very worst, for in the group of the vices born of desire." Manusmriti 7:50. Gambling is also prohibited in several verses of Manusmriti, including Manusmriti chapter 7 verse 47, Manusmriti chapter 9 verse 221-228, Manusmriti chapter 9 verse 258. Prohibition of fortune telling. Fortune telling is prohibited in the Quran in Surah Al-Ma'idah chapter 5 verse 90. Similarly, fortune telling is also forbidden in Manusmriti. Those who live by announcing good luck, smooth operators, and fortune tellers, the king should punish them properly according to their strength and the offense. 4. Prohibition of bribing. Bribing is prohibited in the Quran, and "Don't eat up your property among yourselves for vanities, nor use it as bait for the judges, with intent that you may eat up wrongfully and knowingly a little of other people's property." Al-Quran 2:188. Bribing similarly prohibited in Manusmriti. People who take bribes, frauds, deceivers, and gamblers, those who live by announcing good luck, smooth operators, and fortune tellers, the king should punish them properly according to their strength and the offense. Manusmriti chapter 9, 258 and 262. 5. Prohibition of pork. Prohibition of eating pork is mentioned in the Quran in 4 different places. Surah Al-Baqarah chapter 2 verse 173, Surah Al-Maidah chapter 5 verse 3, Surah Al-An'am chapter 6 verse 145, Surah An-Nahl chapter 16 verse 115. Forbidden to you for food are dead meat, blood, the flesh of swine, and that on which hath been invoked the name of other than Allah. Al-Quran 5:3. Eating of pork is similarly prohibited in Hindu scriptures. Manusmriti chapter 5 verse 19. Any twice-born person, that is Brahman, who knowingly eats mushroom, a dung heap, pig, garlic, a village cock, onions or scallions will fall. Manusmriti 5:19. It's also mentioned in Vishnu Sutra chapter 5 verse 49. A seller of forbidden meat such as pork shall be punished in the same way, that is, shall have one hand or one foot lopped off. Vishnu Sutra chapter 5 verse 49. Budayana Prasad Khand 12 Adhay 5 verse 3. Tame cocks and pigs must not be eaten. Budayana Prasana 12:5-3. 6. Modesty of women. A human criteria for modesty of women. What constitutes modesty for women varies according to public opinion depending upon the society. For example, in some Arab countries, a man staring at a woman is considered immodest. In Indian culture, as long as man does not touch a woman, he is modest. Therefore, the Indian way of greeting is with folded hands. In some European countries, a man who touches a woman to the extent that he only shakes her hand is considered modest. Touching any other part of woman's body is immodest. On the other extreme, in some Western countries, kissing a woman is within the modest level, while in yet other Western countries, any physical intimate act that a man and woman indulge in is considered within the levels of modesty, as long as both are adults and willing partners to such an act. Thus, what constitutes modesty for the human beings varies depending upon the culture and surroundings. It also varies from age to age in the same country. A lady wearing miniskirts and shorts is considered modest in Western countries, but immodest in towns and villages in India, and even in most cities in India. On the other hand, a lady wearing a sari with her belly and navel exposed is considered modest in India, but immodest in many other countries. Let us see what the Islamic and the Hindu scriptures have to say about the modesty of women. Modesty of women according to Islam. The Quran first speaks about the modesty of the men and then of the woman. The Quran says, "Say to the believing men that they should lower their gaze and guard their modesty. That will make for greater purity for them, and Allah is well acquainted with all that they do." Al-Quran 24:30. When a man's glance falls upon a woman and any unshamed thought comes in his mind, he should immediately lower his gaze. Once a Muslim was staring at a girl for a long time, and when I told him that what he is doing is wrong, he replied, "Our beloved Prophet, peace be upon him, said that the first glance is allowed and the second is prohibited, and I have not yet completed half of my first glance." What the Prophet, peace be upon him, meant was that if you unintentionally look at a woman, don't look at her again or continue looking at her to feast on her beauty. That doesn't mean that you look at a woman for 10 minutes and then say, "I have not yet completed my first glance." The next verse of Quran speaks about the hijab, modesty of women, and say to the believing women that they should lower their gaze and guard their modesty, that they should not display their beauty and ornaments except what must ordinarily appear thereof, that they should draw their veils over their bosoms and not display their beauty except to their husbands, their fathers, their husbands' fathers, their sons. Al-Quran 24:31. 6 criteria of hijab. There are basically 6 criteria of hijab given in the Quran and the authentic hadith. The first criterion is the extent which differs between the man and the woman. For men, the level of satir is covering is from navel to the knee, while for women the complete body should be covered except the face and the hands up to the wrists. All the remaining criteria are the same for men and women. Clothes they wear should be loose, such that they do not reveal the figure. Third, the clothes should not be transparent or translucent. 4. Clothes should not be glamorous that they attract the attention of the opposite sex. 5th, clothes of one gender should not resemble that of the opposite gender. 6. Clothes should not resemble any sign or symbol of unbelievers. The reason for hijab for the woman is given in Surah Al-Ahzab. O Prophet, tell your wives and daughters and the believing women that they should cast their outer garments over their persons when abroad. That is most convenient, that they should be known as such and not molested, and Allah is often forgiving, most merciful. Al-Quran 33:59. Example of twin sisters. Suppose there are identical twin sisters, both of them are equally beautiful. Once while walking down the street of Mumbai, one of the twin sisters is wearing a mini skirt or shorts, while the other twin sister is wearing the Islamic hijab with the complete body covered with loose cloths except the face and the hands up to the wrists. If both of them are walking and around the corner, if there is a hooligan or a ruffian who is waiting for a catch, that is waiting to tease a girl, which girl will he tease? The girl wearing the miniskirt or the girl wearing the Islamic hijab? It is pretty obvious that he will tease the girl wearing the miniskirt. Modesty of women according to Hinduism. Hindu scriptures too advise the woman to lower her gaze and to wear a veil for the purpose of protecting her modesty. It is mentioned in the Rig Veda, since Brahma has become a dame, cast down thine eyes and look not up, more closely set thy feet, let none see what the garment wills. Rig Veda 8:33-19. Wearing garment of the opposite sex is similarly forbidden by Hindu scriptures. It is mentioned in Rig Veda, Book 10, Hymn 85, verse 30. Unlovely is his body when it glistens with this wicked flint. What time the husband wraps about his limbs the garment of his wife. Rig Veda, Book 10, 85-30. According to Baba Bhuti in his Mahavira Charitru Act, 2nd page 71, when Rama sees Parasurama coming towards him, he directs his wife Sita, "Dear one, he is our elder. Therefore turn aside and veil yourself." Bhagavad Gita chapter 16 verse 2-3. Modesty belongs to godly men endowed with divine nature. There are various historical records of Indian women wearing a veil in past centuries. In the book Art in Gupta and Post-Gupta coinage, one of the coins shows a lady having a veil on her head, which hangs down to the shoulders and upper arms. Even today in various villages of India, Hindu women wear a veil covering the head and some even cover their face. Polygamy. Definition of polygamy. Polygamy means a system of marriage whereby one person has more than one. Suppose polygamy can be of two types. One is polygyny, where a man marries more than one woman, and the other is polyandry, where a woman marries more than one man. In Islam, limited polygyny is permitted and polyandry is completely prohibited. The Quran is the only religious scripture in the world that says marry only one. The glorious Quran is the only religious book on the face of this earth that contains the instruction, marry only one. There is no other religious book that instructs men to have only one wife. In none of the religious scriptures, be it the Vedas, the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, the Bhagavad Gita, or the Bible, in none of these does one find a restriction on the number of wives. According to these scriptures, a man can marry as many women as he wishes. It was only in the last 150 years or so that the Hindu priests and the Christian churches have restricted the number of wives to one. Many Hindu religious personalities, according to Hindu scriptures, had multiple wives. King Dasarath, the father of Rama, had more than one wife. Krishna had several wives. In earlier times, Christian men were permitted as many wives as they wished. Since the Bible puts no restriction on the number of wives, it was only a few centuries ago that the church restricted the number of wives to one. Polygamy is permitted in Judaism. According to Talmudic law, Abraham had 2 wives and Solomon had hundreds of wives. The practice of polygamy continued till Rabbi Gresham ben Yehuda 960 CE to 1030 CE issued an edict against it. The Jewish Sephardic communities living in Muslim countries continued the practice till as late as 1950, until an act of the chief rabbinate of Israel extended the ban on marrying more than one wife. Third, Hindus are more polygamous than Muslims. The report of the Committee of the Status of Women in Islam, published in 1975, mentions on page number 66 and 67 that the percentage of polygamous marriages between the year 1951 to 1961 was 5.06 among the Hindus and only 4.31 among the Muslims. According to Indian law, only Muslim men are permitted to have more than one wife. It is illegal for any non-Muslim in India to have more than one wife. Despite it being illegal, Hindus have more multiple wives as compared to the Muslims. One can imagine what would have been the percentage of polygamous marriages among the Hindus if the Indian government had made it legal for them. Earlier, there was no restriction even on Hindu men with respect to the number of wives allowed. It was only in 1954, when the Hindu Marriage Act was passed, that it became illegal for a Hindu man to have more than one wife. At present, it is the Indian law and not the Hindu scriptures that restricts a Hindu man for having more than one wife. Let us now analyze why Islam allows a man to have more than one wife. 4. The Quran permits limited polygamy. As I mentioned earlier, the Quran is the only religious book on the face of the earth that says, marry only one. The context of this phrase is the following verse from Surah An-Nisa of the glorious Quran. Marry women of your choice, 2, 3 or 4. But if you fear that you shall not be able to deal justly with them, then marry only one. Al-Quran 4:3. Before the Quran was revealed, there was no upper limit for polygamy and many men had scores of wives, some even hundreds. Islam put an upper limit of 4 wives. Islam gives a man permission to marry 2, 3 or 4 women only on the condition that he deals justly with them. In the same chapter, that is Surah An-Nisa, verse 29 says, you are never able to be fair and just as between women, even if it is your ardent desire. Al-Quran 4:129. Therefore, in Islam, polygamy is not a rule but an exception. Many people harbor the misconception that it is compulsory for a Muslim man to marry more than one wife. Broadly, Islam has 5 categories of do's and do nots. Number 1, fard, that is compulsory. Number 2, mustahab, that is recommended or encouraged. Number 3, mubah, that is permissible or allowed. Number 4, makruh, that is not recommended or discouraged. Number 5. Haram, that is prohibited or forbidden. Polygamy falls in the middle category of things that are permissible or allowed. It is not encouraged or recommended. Islam and the Muslim society do not consider a Muslim man who has 2, 3 or 4 wives to be a better person as compared to a Muslim man who has only one wife. 5. Average lifespan of females is more than that of males. By nature, human males and females are born in approximately the same ratio. During the pediatric age, early childhood itself, a female child has more immunity than a male child. A female child can fight germs and diseases better than its male counterpart. For this reason, there are more deaths among males as compared to the females during pediatric age. During wars, there are more men killed as compared to women. More men die due to the accidents and diseases than women. The average lifespan of females is more than that of males, and at any given time, one finds more widows in the world than widowers. 6. India has a bigger male production than the female production due to rampant and widespread female foeticide and infanticide. India is one of the few countries, along with the other neighboring countries, in which the female population is less than the male population. The reason for this lies in the high rate of female infanticide in India and the fact that more than 1 million female of fetuses are aborted every year in India after the fetus has been identified as female. If these evil practices of female infanticide and female foeticide are stopped, then India too will have more females as compared to males. 7. World female population is more than male population. In the USA, women outnumber men by 7.8 million. New York alone has 1 million more females as compared to the number of males. And of the male population of New York, 1/3 are guys, that is sodomites. The USA as a whole has more than 25 million gays. This means that these homosexual men do not wish to marry women. Great Britain has 4 million more females as compared to males. Germany has 5 million more females as compared to males. Russia has 9 million more females than males. God alone knows how many million more females there are in the whole world today as compared to males. 8. Restricting each and every man to have only one wife is neither practical nor desirable. Even if every man got married to one woman, there would still be more than 30 million females in USA alone who would not be able to get husbands, considering that America has 25 million gays. There would be more than 4 million females in Great Britain, 5 million females in Germany, and 9 million females in Russia alone who would not be able to find a husband. Suppose a lady happens to be one of the unmarried women living in USA, and as years go by, she cannot find a suitable man to marry due to the fact the women far outnumber men in USA. The only two options that would remain for her are that she either marries a man who already has a wife, or she remains a spinster and becomes public property. There is no other option. All those who are modest will opt for the first. In Western society, it is common for a man to have mistresses or multiple extramarital affairs, in which case the other woman leads a disgraceful, unprotected, and an insecure life. The same society, however, cannot accept a man having more than one wife, in which women retain their honorable, dignified position in society and lead a protected life. We mentioned that the only two options before a woman who cannot find a husband to either marry a married man or to remain a spinster and become public property by having affairs with married men. Islam prefers giving women an honorable position by permitting the first option and disallowing the second. There are several other reasons why Islam has permitted limited polygamy, but the main reason for this permission is to protect the modesty of women. For more details, please view my video tab on women's right in Islam, modernizing or outdated. Polygamy in Vishnu Sutra. Speaking of similarities, readers will be interested in knowing that Vishnu Sutra chapter 24 verse 1 states, a Brahman may take 4 wives. Vishnu Sutra 21, Sacred Book of the East, volume 7. Then